Bom dia.
See?
So I am from Seattle. Do you know Seattle? Seattle, Washington, it rains all the time. And Starbucks. Do you know Starbucks? All right, so you know Seattle. And I work at Seattle Public Schools. And we have, a few years ago, we had some things that were not opportunities, that were not working well in Seattle. One thing we found that we had a big opportunity gap. Those students that were living in poverty, that were our students of different minorities, and also we have students coming from many countries into Seattle, and these English language learners were having a very difficult time with the achieving. So this opportunity gap allowed us to really look at what can we do that will help our students. So we looked at, are they getting anything in the social emotional learning areas? And they were getting things from school to school. It was very different. Sometimes in just a 5th grade classroom, they'd have a program, and then nothing else. And it was very inconsistent, so there was not a solid program to address social emotional learning. So we decided that we would begin to work on a program called Ruler. And this is based on that emotions matter. Emotions, when students come with so many different emotions and feelings that happen throughout the day, they can either enhance their learning or they can hinder the learning. Even as we as adults know, if you came today and you were stuck in traffic and you may be sitting here still trying to get relaxed and present here. Our students come from situations where the mornings may have been very difficult for them, coming from home. They may be in classrooms and they're thinking about when they go out for lunch, will they have an argument, a fight? They may be anxious, so they cannot focus on the work at hand. They also, I don't know if any of you have ever made a bad decision. Anyone? Oh, okay. So many times our emotions, when they are very extreme, when I'm very angry, when I'm agitated, I don't make the best decisions. I don't solve problems as well. So teaching our students ways to begin to recognize what their feelings are in themselves and others, to understand what's causing it, to be able to label those emotions and express them in ways that they are going to be able to get what they want. So we are going to give you some tools today that we have used for that regulating of emotions. And we hope that they're very practical for you to take back to your classroom. One of the things that I want to emphasize as we start, when we talk about social emotional learning in Seattle, when we did our program, the first step was to address and train the adults. As the teacher, if I am not aware of my feelings and how I react to certain students and how that influences my teaching, it is not going to work for me just to teach them the skills. I need to learn and practice emotion recognition, regulation, so that all adults in the building can be a safe place and have a common language. Then we go to the classrooms and we teach the students. From there, our next role was to then go out to families, educate families about the skills that we're learning in school. So as we go on, we have 4 tools that we use to teach these emotion regulation. And I'm going to hand this over to Rachel.
I got it. Good morning, and it's great to be in Brazil. It's both of our first time in South America. So everyone's been so welcoming, and you have a beautiful country. We're going to talk about the 4 anchors of Ruler, and these are the tools that we teach throughout that first year of implementation to students to help build a variety of skills. And the tool that we begin with is the charter. Now, the charter is used to establish the psychological safety of the classroom, and it helps students to really think about the feelings they want to experience together as a group, think about what they can do to help themselves feel those feelings and help their classmates and teachers feel those feelings, and then how to manage conflict. And it's created together as a community. And unlike rules that are focused more on safety and procedures, what's included in the charter is really focused on feelings. And that really has an impact on how classrooms operate. It has an impact on the school environment as a whole versus, don't run in the hall or be sure and pick up after yourself. Okay. So I'm going to give you a chance to practice creating a charter. And when we created this presentation, we thought there would be opportunities to work in small groups. So if you want to talk with the person sitting next to you, that's fine. But if you want to do this on your own, it will work as well. So as you're sitting here, you can think about your classroom environment, you can think about work with your colleagues, you can even think about your family. And just think about the feelings that you want to feel when you're with your students, with your colleagues, or with your family. And just jot down 2 or 3 feelings that you want to feel. All right, and now that you have those feelings written down, the second step is to think about each one of those feelings and think about what you can do to feel that feeling or to help someone else feel that feeling. And what we really emphasize to students and the adults that we train is it's not going to be enough to say, well, to feel valued, I'm going to be nice to everyone. Well, being nice is great, but what does being nice look like, sound like, feel like? What specifically are you going to do to help yourself feel valued and to help others feel valued? So that's why we use that acronym SMART. What we tell the younger students is, what will I see you doing? If I walk into your classroom as a school counselor, what will I see you doing to help your friends feel respected? Or what will I see you doing to help your teacher feel happy? So we really emphasize that these are observable behaviors. So for each of the feelings you listed, just think of one action you can take, like greeting everyone by name, to feel the feelings on your list. And again, we're rushing through this. Normally with adults, this would be a 2-hour training. With students, we could break this up over 2 or 3 days. So I apologize for rushing you through this. And then the third portion of the blueprint is thinking about how you'll handle conflict, because conflict's inevitable in every community you're a part of. And by thinking ahead about how we're going to handle the conflict, when our emotions are really escalated, which is pretty typical when you're involved in a conflict, you're not, like Helen said, you're not making your best decisions. And to have a plan up front and have an agreement up front about how we're going to handle conflict is really helpful. So just jot down 1 or 2 strategies that you have for managing conflict. And again, these need to be observable behaviors, thinking about the acronym SMART. Okay. So the big ideas regarding the charter are, these aren't rules. It's focused on feelings, and it's focused on working as a community, creating the charter together as a community. And then something we didn't mention was at the end, once you've created your charter, every student and every faculty member will sign it. And by signing it, you're stating, I had a hand in creating this, I buy into it, I'm going to hold myself to what I've agreed on in the charter. And so, when the charter is violated, which happens on a daily basis in elementary classrooms, it's nice to go back to and revisit it. and just say, you know, we made this agreement. We made this agreement that we're going to solve problems together, and we're going to take actions to help each other feel respected and valued. And students really buy into that, and they really feel invested in it. And that makes a big difference versus, you know, a list of rules on a school wall that they didn't have any part in creating. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. So these are examples of charters. So the first one you see was like in the first grade. So you can see how simple it would be. So 6, 7-year-olds. The example in the middle is a staff charter. So like Helen was saying, all of this work starts with the adults, and then we pass it on to students once we've kind of mastered it. But this is a lifelong process of mastery, so we don't necessarily expect mastery right away. And then the other example is more of an intermediate grade 3, grade 4, just so you can see the format. And this is a simple process, but it's a powerful process. So I hope you can take it back to your students and try those 3 steps and see what a difference it makes. Oh, and another example. I believe this is preschool. Is that right, Helen? Okay.
All right. So the first tool is really beginning to set the climate, the community, that feelings matter, and that we will work as a community so that everybody feels safe, everybody understands how we can support each other in school to be ready to learn. The second anchor tool is the mood meter. So I'm going to have you do this right now. If you look at the mood meter, there is the vertical line, which is energy. So I would like you to check in right now with what is your energy level as you're sitting here. If it is above the middle, that means that there's a lot of energy in your body. If you are way up in the +5, you've got energy surging, you're having a hard time actually sitting still in this seat. If you are below that midline, if you are in the less than, your body is feeling, heavier, tired. If you were below in the -5, you would be ready to fall asleep, but don't. But anyway, so pick a number. Could be +2, +3, -3. Just check in, no right or wrong, just where are you right now with your energy? Got it? Your number? Next is the horizontal line. Now that has to do with your internal mood. How pleasant do you feel right now? If you were in the, above the medium, if you were in the pluses, you would be having these pleasant thoughts, your self-talk. Your thoughts you're having are, I'm liking this. If you were +5, you were saying, there's no other place I'd rather be than here right now. This is so pleasant for me. If you are in the other end, if you are in the less than, if you were less than 5, you may be thinking a lot about, what's going on back at school? I've got so many things to do. I'm not really wanting to be here right now. So just check where you are in pleasantness and find a number. Could be +2, +3, -3. Everybody have that? Now I want you to put the 2 together. So for me, right now, I am feeling a +3. I had for energy. I'm a +3 for energy because I got a lot of sleep last night. I am just very excited to be here. And then my pleasantness, I am a +3. So I am in that yellow quadrant. That's where I am right now. So put the 2 numbers together and find out where you are. Doesn't matter, there's not a good or bad or right or wrong. Where are you right now? All right? Now, how many people, raise your hand, are you in the yellow? Okay. So yellow is that high energy, high pleasantness. The kind of feelings that are in there are happy, excited, glad, ecstatic. So, how many of you are in that green? Raise your hands if you're in the green. All right. So green is that lower energy, but still pleasant. So the kind of feelings that are in that green area are calm, relaxed, content. Anyone in the blue? The blue is the area where I have low energy and low pleasantness. Some of the feelings in there might be bored, might be sad, isolated, alienated, some of those feelings. The red, anyone in the red? All right, well, the red, that's high energy and low pleasantness. So some of that could be anxious, could be angry, could be discouraged. So each one of these quadrants begin to allow our students to recognize where they may be with their feelings. So my question to you is, think of the quadrant that you were in, and for a learning environment, the optimal place is that yellow and that green area. That's where we are most open to learning, collaborating, cooperating. So, think where you were, and if you were in the yellow or the green, what is your strategy for the next hour to stay there? How will you maintain that feeling to stay in the yellow and the green? What's a strategy you have? Some of you may think of a physical strategy, like how you sit up straight, how you breathe deeply. Some of you may use a thought strategy. You may be saying, this is information I want to take back to my class. I really want to keep focused, okay? If for anyone that is in the green, in the red and the blue, what is your strategy for this next hour to shift, to move to that green or that yellow? Same thing, it may be a physical strategy. It may be a thought strategy. So the key to this is we are teaching ourselves and our students the importance of recognizing emotions in myself and recognizing others. I can tell without using any kind of language if someone is in the red. They tend to be tense. Their bodies are tenser. Their voice is louder. It may be sharper, the tone of their voice. I can tell if somebody is in the green. Their body's more relaxed. They're maybe speaking slower. If I'm in the yellow, I may have an upward motion, energy. My pace is quicker. I can notice on the face, too, what the expressions are. So we're looking at recognizing in ourselves and in others that awareness of emotions. And then the importance of understanding what causes those emotions. When we use this tool in our classrooms, we have students check in where they are, and then understanding what caused that. Did something happen on the way to school? Or if we're checking in a circle time or with a group, we're about to move to another activity. Check in right now where you are. Where would the best place for you to be when you move to this next science experiment where we are going to be working collaboratively? Where do you need to shift? What strategies do you have? And so we're using the recognizing emotions, understanding what causes them, labeling, starting to get that rich vocabulary, expressing, and then regulating. And I keep going back to the strategies, because we know that for our students, we can't put a poster on the wall saying, if you're angry, do 3 steps and you won't be angry anymore. So each student needs to discover their strategies that work for them. And I, as the teacher, that's my job in getting to know them, in creating that relationship that I'm listening to you. I know and understand what you need in order to be able to focus more, to be maybe in the green or the yellow. We also know, one last thing I want to say about the mood meter is that there are no good or bad emotions. Each one of these emotions serves us. If I need to be in the red, my class needs to be in the red sometimes when I'm talking about an injustice, when I'm having a debate. I want high energy and I want a level of unpleasantness that I need to fight for something. There are times when that's very important that we create that in the classroom. The blue is that sad feeling, that lower energy, unpleasant, but that's where empathy is. If I can't put myself in somebody else's shoes when they are sad, to be able to help them, that's an important skill. That if I need to focus, if I need to really work on critiquing something, I may need to be in that blue. In the green, that's the time where it is wonderful for small group work, when I need to relax a little bit, be able to have the students be calm. So that time is working in small groups. In the yellow, I might want that in my classroom if we're brainstorming. If we are having a lot of ideas, and it's important that we have those being able to brainstorm and being able to work together with a lot of energy. So there is not good or bad. It's like, what is the best way for me to be in that moment, and that I have the power to choose where I'm going to be, where my emotions are. That's the key. The next tool, here are examples how the mood meter is used in the schools. So kids can check in as they come into school in the morning or as they come into the classroom. It's just a check-in. Where am I? What strategy? We have a strategy wall. What strategy are you going to use to go from the red to the yellow area? What's going to work for you? This is a way the students have their own pictures. They come in the morning and they check, or they come back from lunch and recess and they are checking in. This is beginning to recognize emotions. What does my face look like when I'm sad, when I'm excited, when I'm upset? How do I recognize in others? This is another way to continue to create that social awareness of what does it look like in others? How can I understand how other people may be feeling so I can interact in a way that's going to be helpful and positive with that interaction. And here is another, these are the feelings and here are the strategies. This is used in classrooms. This is used in the hallways. If I'm checking in with a student, I may say, what strategy is going to help you right now to get back into the classroom right now and be able to engage with everyone else? And so sometimes it is in the classroom that we check in out loud, but we also have journaling and reflection, especially with the older students. If I'm going to build that awareness of how I'm feeling, to have times during the day when we're pausing and just checking in. Where am I right now? Is this where I want to be? What's my strategy to be able to move in another area and have my feeling, empower the students for that. The next tool that I'm going to go over briefly is our regulation tool. This is called the meta moment. So the meta moment is an opportunity to have a pause between the time when something happens, I'm triggered, and I want to immediately respond. And lots of times that can be an ineffective response. So I have a stimulus, a trigger. It could be a thought. I'm anticipating a test coming up, and I'm starting to get anxious. Someone said something really mean to me, and I want to say something very quickly back to them. So instead of going to our normal knee-jerk response, what are ways that we can increase that pause from when something happens till I react? So the way that we do that, is number one, something happens. And number two, we begin to sense. We've already done the mood meter, so we know what my body is starting to do when I'm being triggered in something. I may be getting tense. My heart is racing. I'm starting to feel hot. All right, so I'm sensing it. Then I'm stopping. So I stop my whole system from reacting in that fight-flight response. And I stop and I take some deep breaths. All right? And then what's different is instead of reacting out of maybe not my best self, if I'm looking at what is my best self, we spend time talking to our students of who is your best self? How do you want others to see you? What are 3 words that describe your best self? And from that, what is the strategy that is going to align with my best self to be able to respond to that? So these big ideas are, here's an example. Ivan has decided that he wants to be humorous and kind and goofy. So these are his best self. And here, someone is talking about when I have challenges, when I know something triggers me, when I'm at home and I'm having arguments with my brother, what would my best self do? What are some ways that I can think ahead for that? This is in a school, the lockers. They each, on the outside of their locker, they have their name and they list what are the qualities of their best self, so that we all get to know who that person really wants and strives to be. And it's something that we strive for. And when we're making those decisions, can I reflect on what do I really want to see myself as? So they have those on their lockers. Here's others. This is the best self. And then here they're using an activity to use a proactive moment. So they know when they go out to recess, they get bullied. That's been happening. So what's their strategy? Instead of just reacting back with bullying back or being aggressive, what can they do instead? So thinking ahead of time, what a meta moment would be in that time. Here's another example, planning ahead for when it's raining out in Seattle. It rains all the time and I get really blue, which happens. What are things I can do that will make my mood better? And so she's got some strategies. And here's other examples. The last tool is a tool from Rachel.
Okay, the blueprint is our last tool, and we're just about out of time. So one thing that you can take away about the blueprint is it's a tool that helps build empathy and perspective taking. In my work as a counselor and classroom teachers use it a lot when conflicts arise to help analyze that conflict. They also use it in their literacy work to take apart conflicts in a story and analyze the characters' motivations and reactions. So here's an example of a class who used it as a component of their literacy work, analyzing the character and the conflict. These are blueprints that were filled out by my students. They had a conflict with one another, and they had a chance to really think about the problem both from their perspective, but more importantly from the perspective of the other person. The school I work at is Graham Hill Elementary, 350 students. It's grades K through 5. We were the second school to adopt Ruler, so this is our 6th year of using it. And it's local. It's located in one of the most diverse neighborhoods in the United States. Here are demographics. You can see we have a very diverse population, and the free and reduced lunch number is a way that the United States government tracks poverty. So we're a pretty high poverty school, in addition to being very multiracial. And we have a lot of English language learners, a lot of students who are recent immigrants to the country, and also students who were coming here as refugees. So they're bringing a whole myriad of emotions into the classroom, into the school. We do have a video that hopefully you can view online, and I hope you do, because it gives you a real-life peek into how teachers use each of the 4 tools and the impacts that the tools have on the classroom, and the relationships that the teachers can build with the students, and the relationships that students build and maintain with one another. We only have 1 minute.
So to just share how we started, it started with one person saying, I want social emotional learning at my school. And she looked at this program that offered some very solid, concrete ideas. She began to see success in that classroom, and the whole district started to take notice with the changes. So it started with one person getting positive results in their classroom, then the school. And so we said, well, let's try it in some other schools. People had been hearing about this classroom, so I said, we'll open to 10 schools. Before we knew it, 23 schools signed up the first year. They get training throughout the year. There's teachers that come and get trained, and they go back to their schools and train their staff. Leadership is trained at the same time because it's a school-wide emphasis. The next year, we put in another cohort. So another 25 schools came on board. And we started to expand not just the school day, but after-school programs. Could they learn this to continue? And then we started to branch it out to the families. The final year where we're in right now, we have another 13 schools. So right now we have 61 schools that are doing the social emotional learning program school-wide. That was the way that we said to come on, you need to have the whole school do this. There needs to be a climate of that we all acknowledge that feelings are important, it becomes safe to have that, and then the teachers in the classroom are teaching the classes. So that is the end of our presentation, and I am going to hand it over to our person here in Brazil who has been doing an amazing job. So, Will.